Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, 6:30 p.m. And this is a meeting of the Bolton Advisory Committee. And we have the full current committee here with us. And I'd also like to mention that Brian Mooney has joined us. Brian has expressed some interest in joining the advisory committee, and we invited him to sort of see what we do here on advisory. And Brian, a little later in the agenda, we'll have a more detailed discussion about some of the things we did. Okay, so we have a full agenda, so I think we'll just launch right into it. And we're starting the budget review process. And first up, as usual, is Phyllis Tower for animal control. And I think I saw Phyllis here.
Yep. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, I am going to share my screen real quick, and we will. Oops.
Give me 1 sec.
Okay. And then we'll take a look at that line item.
You're all set.
Okay. Okay, can everyone see that? All right, we're starting with 292 animal control. Phyllis, can you just briefly walk us through, this should be pretty straightforward, no change, but walk us through the items in the budget.
Right. There won't be any changes this year. We've got the wages that'll stay the same. We have purchase of services, supplies that may be needed for animal control, and a line for travel reimbursement. And I think that's everything.
Okay. And just to clarify, since this is the first one, and there'll be many more of these as we go through the process, and maybe this is a question for Marie too, but so the wages lines throughout the budget indicate no cost of living adjustments. Is that
at this time? No, there are different scenarios that Ninotchka and I are working on, but at present, no. Beyond steps for people who are eligible for steps.
right? All right. Any questions from anyone on advisory? There are no questions. Is there a motion to approve the animal control officer budget?
Move we approve the animal control officer budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Don?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. All right, that was pretty easy. I hope the rest will be as straightforward. Okay, Phyllis, thanks very much for joining us. I think we're good to go.
All right, thank you.
Next up, town accountant. Let's see. That is 135. Okay. Ninotchka, you're up.
Get back to me. All right. Salary is my salary. Stipend is for a certified governmental accounting stipend. Purchase of services is for our actuarial cost. Software support is for my accounting system software support. Audit is for the audit. The increase there, it was going to be a $27,000 increase, but we negotiated, came to some terms, and for 1 year it's 23. I anticipate it's going to go up a lot again next year. We're kind of, all these companies are merging. There's very few auditing firms left, so they're kind of, you know, they have control and we don't.
They get to call the shots. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Supplies, office supplies, things like that. Meetings for various trainings and school that I go to each year.
Okay.
That's it. So the only change is the auditing, and really I did the best I could.
Right. No,
Is
that's
it-
great. I mean,
They're just increasing the rate, I assume, Nanachka?
Yeah, so we had Melanson Heath, and then they just became Melanson, and then they were bought again by CBiz. So, oh no. Then Melanson became Markham, and then Markham got bit by CBiz. And I don't know how much municipalities they want to do. They're a big nationwide firm, so I talked to Tony Roselli at Roselli and Clark, and he was going to charge the same. So I figured with Michelle being new, it would be very important to have the same auditors because they've all worked together, and a new auditor and a new treasurer it'd be a lot.
Yeah.
So that's it for this year. We'll see what happens next year.
all right. Does anyone have any questions?
Uh, the purchase of services was actuarial, did you say, Nanachka?
Yes, we use Odyssey Advisors to do our actuarial report for OPEB.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I don't think I said OPEB, sorry.
Other questions? Right, if not, is there a motion to approve the town accountant budget for $123,964?
I move we approve the town accountant budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Excellent. Thank you, Nanachka. Unfortunately, though, you don't get to drop off.
No, it does take me it takes me a few meetings to get used to being back on the Zoom. It's been a while.
All right, next up, tree warden. I don't know if Mark's joined us yet. Mark here?
I could resend him the link.
Okay, meanwhile, I believe Randy is here, so Randy gets to jump the line. Randy, how are you?
Hey, good evening. How are you? Thank you for being here. Thanks for
Great.
inviting me, I should say.
Great, thanks for joining. Okay, so for you, we have a number of line items, so I guess we'll just start at the top here. 190 town buildings.
Yeah, heating is for the home building, as well as the Houghton Electric. Repairs and maintenance covers all of the buildings that we have responsibility for, with the exception of the school. Grounds maintenance is everything related to the grounds, could be the common. If we have to do repairs at Memorial Field or soccer field, irrigation repairs, etc., come out of that account. Trash hauler is for the library and town hall, and propane is for my mind just went blank. It's either town hall or the highway garage for the generator.
Okay. And the electric increase that went up 163, is that for a known cost or is that an estimate?
I was advised, in fact, Jenny's the one that told me that the rate was going up 2%, and that's what that reflects.
Okay. One other question, and maybe this isn't the right section where we would find it, but last year, wasn't there an issue with a cleaning contract? And
There was, it's under repairs and maintenance. The cleaning contract is under repairs and maintenance.
I see.
A couple of years ago, the decision was made when the existing town custodian retired to go to contract services. And we went out for prices and chose All Pro, and we're in the, I think will be the third year of their contract. And that did go up per contract did go up slightly.
Okay, all right, so that's captured in there. Great. Okay, other questions for Randy?
Is there an opportunity for the town to get a different electric supplier and save some money on the electricity all over the place? I know I did, and my bill's like 2/3 of what it was before.
I
We do
think-
have a negotiated consortium supplier cost that was negotiated with Don Lowe a couple years ago. And Oscar or Marie or Jenny can correct that.
Right, our cost, Randy is absolutely correct. The cost for the supply will be declining slightly next December, but the cost for the distribution will be increasing. So it basically nets out to about a 2.5 increase.
About how much are we paying per kilowatt, do you know, combined?
It is, at this very moment, it is slightly higher than the base cheapest community choice aggregation rate. We are locked into that rate until December of 25,
And
where
do
it
you have-
will decline and be basically a little less than I don't have the numbers in front of me, but then it's a little lower in terms of supply than the community choice basic, not green friendly rate.
I think it was like 14.5 or something. I just processed a bunch of electric bills today.
the supply side?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the distribution that's kind of the relationship I have, that my supply's gone down, but the distribution is, and they throw in things like fee with no further descriptions, like, okay,
And there's 15 of them. So yeah.
right.
All right, other questions on the town buildings? If not, is there a motion to approve the town buildings budget line for $241,063?
I move we approve the town buildings budget for $241,063.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Excellent. Next, 293. Traffic lights.
Yeah, that's for the lights that took it at Main Street and also at 110 and 117 by Bolton Orchards. Again, it's a static amount. The only change again was the electric based upon the previous guidance I received.
All right. Any questions for Randy on this one? Is there a motion to approve the traffic lights line for $22,235?
I move we approve the traffic lights budget for $2,235.
Roll
I'll
call,
second
Don.
that.
Oh,
Aye,
sorry. I jumped the gun.
jumping the gun, there, but,
Don seconded it. Okay, roll call, Don,
aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Okay, moving right along. All right, 421. That's a long one.
That's Public Works. That's our salary and wages account. Myself, the staff, the administrative assistant. Purchase of services is primarily copier and cable. Heating, electric are self-explanatory. Repairs would be general repairs to the equipment or to the building, not the building, but to primarily equipment. Telephone is the telephone bills for all of the town. That's the all of the internet phone, and supplies are generic supplies, could be paper, pens, whatever, could be hand tools, small hand tools for the highway garage or the highway crew.
How are we tracking on repairs this year? Are we tracking?
vehicle
ahead of
repairs?
54? Sorry,
Vehicle repairs or
the repairs, 5241, line 390.
unfortunately, I don't have my current status with me, but I
Okay.
think, I don't think we're extraordinarily over. I think we're tracking right about where we should be. A lot of our repairs, especially this time of year, get allocated to snow and ice, and those are generally the larger repairs to larger equipment that's dedicated to snow and ice removal.
Yeah, something breaks down when you're out plowing or something, yeah.
Or in anticipation of plowing, like in the
Oh.
fall, we have all of our big trucks go out to a local vendor and they go through them completely before winter, check everything, brakes, hydraulics, engine, everything.
I've read a little bit, the legislature is talking about requiring additional things on trucks. Are we running into anything like that, Randy?
We were hoping to, under capital, have a couple of new trucks coming, but the state government in their infinite wisdom has decided that big trucks, anything I think it was 16,000 GVW, which includes the 1 tons and everything, had to be electric. A certain percentage of them had to be electric. We looked quickly at what those costs would be to us to purchase a big truck electric. It would require not only the additional cost of the vehicle, which is well over $300,000. It would be an upgrading of our electrical service to the building, the installation of the charging system, and the
Yep.
generator too. The generator would be undersized for any kind of fast charging, and I am skeptical and quite skeptical of putting an electric truck plowing snow in winter under sub freezing temperatures, and then have to go and park it for a number of hours while it has to charge the batteries. It is only a percentage. The state did delay it 1 year, did delay the regulation 1 year. And after that, I believe it's going to be a percentage, as so many percentage of the vehicles sold have to be electric. There are some manufacturers that don't have electric large trucks available, such as Caterpillar. Not Caterpillar, Mack. Mack is the big one right now that does not
Okay.
have an electric vehicle. I think Freightliner has 1 model. International may have 1 or 2 models. So I'm assuming that's what you were asking.
No, it's more, I think they talked about like every truck we got will have to have like side guards, so there's no possibility of cars going under and things along that line. Electric.
I've heard of that regulation coming down. I haven't seen
Yeah. nor have I.
anything come down from the state on that, but I've heard you see a lot of them on the tractor trailers now are being done.
Yeah. The other thing maybe Ninochka, I'm looking at the expenditure level in December. It appears that we've spent
Yeah, 7750 about. I just pulled
Okay,
it up
so
myself. Yeah, so it's
I don't
in
see
good
how
shape.
we're in line to spend 55 if we've only spent 7 so far.
probably because it doesn't happen in a
You don't know when a vehicle is going to break either.
Right.
Right,
I
if you
had
know
a-
you, yeah, well,
I've got a one-ton truck that I've got to send out, and we're getting prices, and one of them to fix the truck cost is $14,000.
Yeah, no, this is a
Yeah.
tough one. I mean, you
Yeah.
never know, and like you say, and one repair can blow things up. Historically, we've been significantly less, and we certainly are running less at this point. And I know how tight money's going to be this year. So just a little concerned. That seems a touch possibly on the high side.
Randy, I have a quick question for you on the
Sure.
heating. I think last year you converted the heat for the DPW building from waste oil to heating oil.
That is correct. Yep.
And that's reflect the big jump in cost is reflected there. Do you think that the 15.8 is what we can expect?
I think it's a good number. We got a good price when we went out for quotes this year. I think it was a little bit lower than last year, but with
It
we
was
really don't
lower.
know. We really don't know what the
Sure.
fuel oil budget is going to be next winter. I mean, that's kind of what we're budgeting for. And last year we spent 11,000 on heat for the building. So
Yeah, obviously that's another one that's tough to
Yeah,
predict.
that's the tough one.
just give you an indication. Back to the repairs line item 4241. As part of our preparation of the budget, we were asked to do a narrative and to look at our budget and consider areas and how things are funded and whether there's some flexibility for reductions based on the fiscal challenges that you're facing this year.
Right.
The repair budget in fiscal year 2015 for this line item was $52,000. So it's gone up
Sorry,
$2,700 in 10 years.
Did you say 2015?
2015, correct. Yep.
Okay, I just want to confirm it.
Yep. So I mean, we're trying to be conservative here.
But yeah, the numbers show it. We've
Yep.
much less than that in prior years.
Okay, other questions for Randy?
Just a quick one. So Randy, this is Greg Myers. I think I heard you say, so in the telephone line item, therein is the telephones for the entire town government plus all our internet service?
Not the internet, just the telephone.
Just the telephone.
It would be the Comcast internet for just our building,
Oh, just your building. Got it.
just our building. Yep. But it's
Is
a
that-
telephone for the entire town.
Telephone for the whole town. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? If not, is there a motion to approve the highway budget for $996,726?
I move we approve the highway budget for $996,726.
There a second?
I second that.
Okay, roll call. Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
By the way, I did text Leslie and Mark to remind them of the meeting.
Mark is in the meeting.
We're here. We thought it was
he's-
6:50. I'm sorry.
No,
You guys
you're
were
right.
running early.
Yeah, we're running ahead of schedule, but since you're here, I think we'll jump back and go over tree warden now, just to try to keep a little closer to the schedule we put out. So Randy, we're gonna pause for a second, if that's okay, on the,
Oh yeah, sure.
okay. Let's see, 294. Okay. Mark, over to you. If you could just quickly walk us through the items in your budget.
Sure. So, on the, salary, that's obviously the compensation that, I get for being the tree warden. And then, the police details, anytime we're working in the roadway, we have to get, details. The last year, or, this fiscal year, I should say, no, I'm sorry.
Last year.
Last fiscal year, we gave some money back, but we didn't, the police were unable to fill details around 7 times. So we had DPW workers doing flagging when we couldn't get police details. Then the next line item is the tree trimming, which is the removal of dead, diseased, decayed, storm damaged trees within the town right of ways. And then most of those trees that are coming down are rotted or defected or dead, and so we pay to get rid of them, and that's what that disposal line item is. And there's the price of disposal has gone up almost double in the last few years. We're paying right around $20 a cubic yard. You can take it to a facility in Hopkinton and pay a little bit less per yard, but by the time you truck it to Hopkinton, it's as much, if not more.
Is there an opportunity to offer free firewood to the town people, or?
So when National Grid removes trees and the tree is in front of someone's property, they have the first right of refusal to the wood.
Yep.
Years ago, back in the, I'm gonna say late 80s, early 90s, we used to put some decent wood down at the transfer station, and it's obviously in like log lengths at the time. Well, one of the residents was cutting wood and got hurt, and now it's just too much of a liability for the town to have residents running chainsaws and whatever, or lifting heavy objects in the town right away, or, you know, at on town property somewhere. So some of the good wood we try to separate out a little bit, but for the most part, the contractor goes right down the road and does one tree after another, and most of it ends up in the disposal yard.
Mark, I have a quick question for you. Back in 23, we significantly bumped up the tree trimming budget to 50,000. At the time, we had a discussion, and there was a backlog of trees that needed to be trimmed.
Yeah.
And so for the last 3 years, we've been at that 50,000 level. Do you think we're at a point now where we've worked through the backlog and we can reduce that amount, or is the work such that it's going to stay at the 50,000 level?
I think at this point, there's real, you know, you call it a backlog, but we have windstorms, we have other things, we have trees, older trees that are reaching the end of their life expectancy. I don't foresee that for public safety reasons that we could reduce that. National Grid, there's 3 circuits here in town. National Grid has done a hazard tree and mitigation program on 2 of the 3 circuits. So we've got about 100 trees that are in the town right away that are going to be coming down on National Grid's bill, but we still have to deal with the disposal of the trees that the residents don't want, the trucking and disposal of.
Okay, thank you.
Are we still dealing with that ash borer beetle? Or whatever it
We're
is?
at the beginning stages of the emerald ash borer. There's still quite a few ash trees in town that are alive and doing okay, and there's quite a few of them that have deceased. But we're still pretty early on in the emerald ash borer stages.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mark? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve the tree warden budget for $72,027?
I move we approve the tree warden budget for $72,027.
Thank you very much, everybody.
So we're gonna vote in a second, Mark.
Oh, sorry.
Is there a second?
that.
Okay, all right, roll call. Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, Mark, thank you very much. And
Thank you, everybody.
Good luck with the tree trimming.
Yes, thank you.
All right, excellent. Okay, Randy, back to you. So
I think
we're up
we're
to
at 422, I think.
422, construction and maintenance.
This is items related to specifically maintenance and construction of the town roadways. For instance, if we are buying, if we have guardrails to replace or repair, that comes out of this account. Line painting, coal patch, I mean, not coal patch, but if we're doing some hot mix patching, that comes out of here. Drainage installs, replacement of catch basins, rebuilding of catch basins, all of those kinds of items. Police details obviously is pretty self-explanatory. Public way safety is money that was appropriated to the public way safety several years ago for the purpose of the fog lines on the rural roads. And local improvements is basically what it says. It's kind of like everything else to do with the roadways. This comes out of construction and maintenance.
Okay. Anyone have questions? Randy, when does the paving of 117 become an issue?
We're doing, well, first of all, the roundabout project should begin this spring. I was just finishing up the specifications. In fact, I sent them to Marie for pre-bid review for the resurfacing of 117 from the Stowe line westerly to just about 300 feet beyond Meadow Road. And that's all I'm planning for activities on 117 for this year.
I'm sorry, Randy, where's that starting?
The Stowe Town line,
Okay. thank you.
westerly to Meadow Road. And those are all, it's going to be chapter 90. The roundabout is several different funding sources, no
Right.
town money.
Mhm.
All right, other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the construction and maintenance budget for $209,100?
I move we approve the construction and maintenance budget for $209,100.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
Next item would be 423 snow and ice. But before we go that, can I backtrack a little bit to 190 of the buildings? And we don't need to show the budget, but I just wanted to give the committee aware of some activities that are occurring in the budget that are having an effect on our budget for this year. At the library, as you know, we concluded the sewer project. That was a huge item that came off of our list. We've had a leak developed in a roof over the stairwell in the main lobby area. We had a roofer come out, take a look at it, and at some time in the past, since the building was built, a membrane roof was installed over a wood shingle roof without removing the wood shingles.
Oh,
So that has failed. So we now have a price, a PO signed, quote signed, to a roofing company to rip that all up and put in a membrane roof to replace that with a membrane roof. That's about a $10,000 item that is hitting our budget that we did not anticipate or expect. We have continued reliability issues with the heating system at the public safety building. I'm kind of at a loss now of what we should do, what we don't do. You know, we constantly have one or both boilers are going out. The staff is going in on overtime to get them restarted. It's been a real challenge. But back to the library, and when we're looking at the the leak at the stairwell. I also noted what appears to be a leak around the vicinity of the chimney in the old section. Investigation of that revealed that there were several cracked and broken clay tiles on the roof. We do have some in the basement, and we're getting prices to have those repaired. If we don't have enough to repair, I don't know what we're going to do. One of the roofers that we contacted to get some pricing, he actually contacted the clay tile manufacturer. The clay tiles are no longer in production. And you have to purchase, I think it was 1,800 square feet is the minimum order, is a special order at over $100,000. So hopefully we don't have to go down that route, and that we can replace enough tiles to make the roof watertight to stop the active leaks. But again, I just wanted to give the advisory committee kind of a heads up on the challenges that we still face within the buildings.
And Randy, that's over and above some of the capital requests that you've submitted?
That's correct, yes. Yep.
Okay.
And that's hitting our operating budget. That's kind of why I was highlighting them tonight.
Right.
So don't be surprised if later on in the fiscal year, I come before you looking for some funds to cover the remainder of the fiscal year, just because of those big projects.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the.
I mean, Randy, would it make sense? I mean, you're talking over 100,000 for new tiles. Would it make sense? I don't know, spend 100,000 on shingles and just replace the whole bloody thing? Or am I dreaming?
I don't necessarily disagree with your concept, but I think it's more of a not a technical or decision. It's more of a political, aesthetic kind of decision.
Okay, that's fair.
For an old building. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And we don't have to make it today, so.
No, oh goodness, no.
Yeah.
You know, if I, had my druthers, I'd maybe do an imitation slate or something like that on the roof.
Yeah.
Just to also give you an idea of some of the challenges we faced. We had a leak develop in the children's room at the library, and I contacted the installer of the roof when they built the building. We were able, with the help of Kelly Collins, the library director, track down the original installer. The roof was under warranty, so I had him come out and do a full inspection of the roof just to see its condition. It's been 12 years, 13 years since it was installed, just to get some eyes up there. They did find a couple of holes that they did repair, and I mentioned the membrane that was placed over the wood roof. Sometime previous, they used a metal angle iron and drilled it down through the curbing on the flat roof, going right through the membrane and everything. So that was also an area of leaking. So when I had the hole replaced or repaired on the membrane, we removed that metal L channel that somebody had installed up there, and properly repaired that membrane. So we're kind of like chasing leaks, maybe of our own making at this point.
So regarding the heating system problems they seem to be having, I assume we've had multiple professionals in there to see what the problem is.
Yes, we have.
The system's
We've
only
had two different boiler companies coming in to look at them. And neither one of them have been able to get the burners operating reliably. I was hoping that we'd be able to just replace the burners and see if that improved the reliability. But the type of boiler that's installed at the public safety is a direct vent, and you can only use this one particular burner for the direct vent. You're not able to use another another model or another manufacturer. So it kind of like boxed me into a corner. I am strongly thinking of doing an experiment and having a stainless steel stack installed on one of them, and have the burner changed out and see if that makes a difference, running the two, because they do a lead and lag, to see if that makes a difference. And if that makes a difference, then, do the second one. We are still seeing bio growth in the underground storage tank also. I do have that polished every year now, but we do have pre and post sampling done by the company that comes in to does it. And there's still evidence of some, significant bio growth in that underground storage tank. So maybe long-term we look at, maybe getting rid of the fuel oil and going to a propane or some other fuel source, get rid of the underground storage tank, get rid of the whole bio issue.
I thought, this is before your time, Randy, but I thought we already were in propane and we were locked into their contract because they owned the tanks and the tanks were under or close to the library.
At
Did
the
I
library, yes,
misunderstand
not
that?
public safety, not public
okay.
safety.
Okay.
Yeah, at library, yes.
Yeah.
Public
On-
safety is still number 2 oil.
On the
Okay.
public safety, I thought the last I recall, there was discussion about getting a metallurgist, and they were contemplating investigating manufacturing defect, I think, of the original system. Has anything happened with that?
We had a metallurgist come in. We do a monthly water treatment at the public safety. They test and do it, as well as the library. I figured if we're doing one building, we're going to do both because they both have the same water source. The failure of the coils wasn't able to be attributed. Even the insurance company came in, sent in a specialist to look at it, and they weren't able to attribute the failure to the coils themselves. It's more of a controls issue, where at the public safety building, the heating loop runs 365 days a year, and even tempers the air conditioning in the summer. The boilers went down, the valve closed, and so the couple of the heating coils, we've had issues with them actually freezing up, and that was the biggest expense that went in the upstairs. So one of the things that's in our capital plan is to upgrade the the digital control system for the building, the HVAC software, and maybe put some alarms in and go and touch each of the automatic valves and see if those are all working, and replace the ones that need to be replaced. But that's, I don't think, is going to make the funding list for this year.
Okay, Randy, thanks for the review. That was helpful.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's move on to snow and ice. And this is our standard 180,000 that we've had in place for a number of years.
Yes, you
And
can
this is
never
the only-
lower that. You can never, ever lower it.
That's right. And once it goes up, it's permanently up.
Permanently up, correct.
Right. Anyone have questions on snow and ice? Or sorry, snow and sand, snow and ice, snow and sand.
It's
All right,
snow
is
and
there-
ice. I need to change that. That's so old.
Yeah, we use very limited in use of sand these days.
Okay, snow and ice. All right, is there a motion to approve the snow and ice budget for 180,000?
I move we approve the snow and sand budget for $180,000, or snow and ice if you'd rather.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
All right.
Greg,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Excellent. 424, street lighting.
It's pretty self-explanatory. It's the LED street lights throughout town, and a few decorative lights, street lights in a couple of neighborhoods, Fox Run and my mind just went blank, up off of Hudson
Danforth.
Road. Danforth, thank you. Yep.
All right, yep.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the street lighting budget for $10,638?
I move we approve the street lighting budget for $10,638.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Transfer station.
Basically, this is everything related to operation of the transfer station. You've got wages and overtime. Electric at the transfer station to run the facility, the compactors, the lights, etc. Trash disposal is basically your compactor and bulky waste disposal, primarily. Trash hauling, we receive a separate invoice, or it's billed out separately on the invoice for the hauling of municipal solid waste. Recycling hauling, same thing. Recycling processing. Processing is the fees to get rid of the recyclables. Nothing is free anymore. We don't make any money. Any money we do make is significantly offset by the trucking costs to get it to the recycling location. Trash container lease is exactly what it is. It's the lease for the roll-offs at the transfer station. Same thing with the recyclable container lease. Those cans are owned by the vendor. Maintenance is anything related to maintenance at the transfer station. For instance, we had make some repairs to one of the compactors this couple months ago, and that came out of that line item. And then equipment is for like the purchase of new equipment, and that's kind of like a nominal amount in there, 300. It's been that way for a while.
Randy, last year we had a $44,000 transfer to the transfer station. Part of that was for the trash bags, but part of it was for processing costs. So
correct.
Do you think the 40,000 here for processing is sufficient?
I'm hopeful that it is. Part of it last year too, remember we had so many stickers that were turned in, which is like revenue already lost.
Yep.
So I think now our revenues are leveling out a little bit. Something we'll be looking at with Marie and the board in the future on that. But I'm hopeful that trash disposal will be in line. I mean, one of the things our guidance is to try and keep the budget, level funded to the greatest extent possible. And
Right.
That's why I didn't touch that amount.
Yep.
Do we ever do anything to kind of analyze and say, are we sending out more tonnage, or is the tonnage staying the same, for all the various aspects here?
I provide a monthly report to Marie on the tonnages that we process at the transfer station, along with the associated costs.
Marie there's no Marie here with us. Okay, could I get a copy of one of those? I'm just curious.
I would be delighted to. It's fascinating.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's not the word I would use.
That's okay. Yeah.
All right. Other questions for Randy? If not, is there a motion to approve the transfer station budget for $295,842?
I move we approve the transfer station budget for $295,842.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Okay, 440. Sewer.
Purchase of services is the contract operator for the wastewater treatment facility. It's a shared facility with the Florence Sawyer School. As you recall, our library, public safety, and Houghton building are connected to the wastewater treatment facility, and the rest of it is the Florence Sawyer and Emerson School. they utilize the facility. So that's a portion of the cost for the contract operations. There is a slight increase COLA. I haven't received it yet from the vendor, but I added a COLA to that. Or I was supposed to. Looks like I didn't make it in. Repairs is kind of like one of those items that we need to have it funded in the event we have a failure of any component or a part in the facility. The facility now is nearing, 19 years old. We've started replacing, pumps and meters, etc., within the facility. I think a few years ago, we replaced the membranes under a warrant article, so we're in good shape there. So it's kind of that item. We do have in our discharge permit, we have a requirement that we have to go through and replace a number of pieces of machinery, equipment within the building that the assessing engineer at the 15-year assessment determined would be nearing their end of their life at 25 years. So within the discharge permit, we've got a number of pieces of equipment that is scheduled to be replaced by December 2026, I believe. We are having discussions with the DEP because I'm not one to go and replace a piece of equipment just because they say it's getting old. Because if it's being maintained properly, its lifetime should be there. But we need to have its replacement ready and a plan to deal with that should it fail. And we're dealing with the DEP right now to I don't want to say get a delay of that implementation of the equipment replacement, but at least make them aware that all of that equipment replacement may or may not be done by that December timeline. It amounts to like $255,000.
Do you know of any other towns that have done that?
Oh, it's required for any municipality, any public sewer system. Yeah, I mean, even when I was in New Hampshire, we had to have a capital replacement plan that it was much more strict in New Hampshire, and you had to demonstrate a fund that will pay for the equipment replacement. That was written right into the loan, right into the grant you receive.
Wow.
So I mean,
Okay.
when I was in New Hampshire, we had we were building up a fairly sizable reserve fund just for equipment replacement, future equipment replacement.
Okay, other questions on the sewer line? Is there a motion to approve the sewer budget for $27,380?
I move we approve the sewer budget for $27,380.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
I am an aye as well. Okay, next is water, 6,000.
The town has two public water supplies. There's very small systems, the public safety building and the library. And it's primarily because of the population, the number of people that it serves. This is purchase of services is the contract operations for Whitewater to operate our system, where they come in once a month and do mandatory coliform sampling, and then on a periodic basis, according to the sampling guidelines of the DEP, they come in and take additional sampling for various other contaminants. And we have a $1,000 repair placeholder there should a piece of equipment fail. I don't expect the well pumps to go. Those are fairly new. We replaced them a couple of years ago. But there could be a meter that will go or something like that. Will very quickly eat up the $1,000.
Okay, questions on the water budget? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the water budget for $6,000.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, next up is 491 Cemetery. Looks like you're saving us some money this year.
Yeah, that was, if you recall from last year on the grounds maintenance, we had a one-time request to put in, to get a couple of water tanks for the couple of for the West Cemetery and the South Bolton. We actually, Bart Case found a source of those tanks for us at a very reasonable cost. So we're in the process right now of getting those from him. So that that is the reduction from 6,100 down to the 5,000 that we had.
Great.
Good.
Okay, any questions? Is there a motion to approve the cemetery budget for 10,000?
I move we approve the cemetery budget for 10,000.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. And finally, 692 Memorial Day celebration for 4,000.
Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Leslie and Dawn spent a lot of time around Memorial Day. They order the flags, they order
This, it's
geraniums for,
the flowers, the flags. It's for hardware maintenance for the flags in town as well. Any flags you see along the roadside as well. And
Right.
flags for each building if when they're need to be replaced.
Great. Anyone have questions? Is there a motion to approve the Memorial Day budget for 4,000?
I move we approve the Memorial Day budget for 4,000.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Okay. That was it for the DPW budget items. The last thing we'd like to do is, Randy, if you could give us a short review of your capital requests. We're not voting on capital requests, but just to give us a little information when the discussion comes up later in the year.
yeah, sure.
Let
I
me,
submitted a multitude of capital requests.
yes, many.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what is being funded, and I think I've actually forgot the
I
big
have,
transfer station video cameras in the file, but I'll go through the ones that I've got here.
okay, somewhere, if you give me 1 second, somewhere in here, I have
Is that the spreadsheet?
the whole list of requests. I have the spreadsheet too, but if I can find it, hold on. Here we
Yep, there you go. Yep. That one, the first one we'll go over tonight is replacement of one of the larger trucks. It's a 2001 International. It's truck number 3. I originally proposed a requested amount of $325,000. We're working with Marie and the fire chief. As you're aware, the fire chief received some new equipment. One of the tankers that he has may be able to be retrofitted for our use. We're taking the tank off and putting on a spreader body and converting it into a snowplow with a material spreader on it. Significant savings. We're thinking something on the order of $20,000. It could probably be done. So, we're trying our best here. The next item was it's a 2000. It's a 1-ton. It's a 2009 Ford 1-ton. This was actually supposed to be replaced last year by the fire. We had a vehicle that burned out, so decision was made to wait and submit it as a capital request at this time. portion of the costs for this vehicle is to come out of insurance recovery, which were the proceeds for the vehicle that burned up. Requested amount is 145,000. This ironically is the truck I referred to earlier that we've sent out for quotes to repair, and one quote we received so far was $14,000. That's why I kind of hate spending that kind of money on a vehicle that could potentially go away.
This happened on my street. It was quite a scene when this truck was burning.
Yes, for sure. The next one, make sure that same order. You have 2002 International. This is truck number 1. This is a 6-wheel dump truck combination body. This was actually deferred from a previous year, from last year. We had I mentioned earlier, every fall we send out all the big equipment to take a look at it and get it ready for winter. And we had that third-party evaluation done by Chayach Trucks, and he indicated there were, several thousands of dollars in repairs to the frame and other components of the truck. And it didn't seem like it was money well spent, proposed to be spent for this truck. It's also, believe it or not, I think it's our last standard that we have in stock. Right now we've only got 2 employees that can drive a standard. So by rotating this 2002 piece of equipment out, we'll have a little bit more flexibility with utilization of it as well.
Okay.
Next item I had was the highway garage, paint the exterior of the garage. That was identified in the Ty and Bond Capital Building Assessment Report. Also, I submitted this with the hopes that if the decision was made to paint the Houghton building, we could combine a couple other buildings make it a larger project, and hopefully gain interest from larger painting companies and perhaps get, better competition and pricing. This was be for the highway garage itself, not the admin building, but the highway garage, the red building. Next item was the Houghton building painting. I had received an estimate last year when I submitted the capital request of, I think, around $78,000 to paint that building. The back of the building it's almost bare clapboards now. It's gone too far. The rest of it is the paint is failing. One of our concerns with that building, obviously, is it's probably lead paint, although it hasn't been tested, but it could very well be a lead paint. So that, based on the estimate we got last year, so I upped it up between $80,000 and $100,000 to make that, again, combining it with potentially the highway garage and then also the trim work at the town hall. Next item was the digital building control system, which is found at both the library and the public safety building. That is the brains of the HVAC system in both buildings. Both of them, we've been told by the vendor that the components within the system are no longer supported by Honeywell, and you can't buy replacements anymore. We did have 2 years ago, I think we had a component, the Jace Go, and contractor was able to find a rebuilt one on eBay. So this was to upgrade the software and the hardware for the building HVAC control for both the library and public safety. We have had real problems this year with the HVAC system at the library, the control system. We've had to, almost on a weekly basis, the building maintenance guy is going in and rebooting the computer. We'll get a call from the library staff saying that there's no heat in the building, and we'll go in and we'll figure out that the system went down because the computer went down. So I have real concerns that if we get a total crash, it's going to be a challenge. and library and public safety too. We're also have had to go in several times and reset all the set points. That being, the temperatures for each of the rooms. For some reason, it's losing that data as well. It's not retaining that data. So it's if it's not done, it's going to near future. It's going to need to be done. It really does.
Okay.
What's next item was mold remediation at the library and the IT room at the library. I was over there a few months ago and I noticed what appeared to be black mold creeping up one of the door casings outside of the IT room. And I went in there and there's evidence of a significant mold problem in that room. We had a specialist come out. It's not an expense, not a cheap remediation because of the type of equipment that's in there. And when they built the building, they used plywood on the walls and left it unpainted plywall to allow them to affix the equipment in the racks on the walls. That surface of the plywood is a great environment, proving to be a great environment to grow mold. So that's something we're going to have that needs to be addressed. Right now, it's confined basically to one room. It is its own room. Has its own air conditioning, has its own mini split. But it's something that I think will need to be addressed. We did have a mechanical engineer come out, give us some advice, because I said, I don't want to remediate the mold if I don't know what's causing it. So he made a couple of recommendations. We changed some settings on the mini split to see if that makes a difference. But it's so prevalent in the room, it's kind of hard to tell whether it's making a difference at this point. Next item. The old fire station demolition. If you recall, we had, at the request of the board, we had a structural assessment done of the old fire station. I think the historical commission as well brought in a post and beam specialist to determine if it could be salvaged. There's significant insect boring damage in the building. If you look at it, there's a pretty significant sag. You go in the building, they've got some cables that are holding the walls together. There are times where you go in there that the cable is taut, and the other time you go in there, that maybe be a 3 or 4 inch sag in that same cable. So the building is moving pretty significantly. So it's a request to come up with the funds to demo it. I did get a back of the envelope estimate from a demo contractor that was working over at the International. And he took a quick look at it and said, on the order of 30 to 35,000 to demo it. It's primarily, I think it's a challenge because of its tight location, proximity to the neighbor. Next one is public safety digital control system. That's the same thing as the library. It's a little bit more reliable, but not much. If you're doing one building, they're both the same vintage, same software. It's best to do both of them at the same time. Next item. When we had the engineer come out and look at the mold in the library, the building maintenance guy said, I think we're starting to see it in the IT room at the public safety building as well. So we went over there, and yes, it's just starting to appear within the IT room of the public safety building as well, some mold. So it's just starting. It's a better idea to attack it while it's a manageable amount. And again, that's another building where another room where they've attached plywood and things to the wall, and that would all have to be removed. You can't use like an ozone in these rooms to kill the mold because of the equipment that exists in the room. So they're a lot more, you have to use more surfactants to kill the mold. We're not sure if a UV light would work. It's not going to work. It'll work on what's showing. We're finding the mold behind the plywood, between the plywood and the drywall too. So,
Randy, is this something you could just do within the existing repairs budget? Does this
Not
need
this
to be a
year.
capital request?
that not this year. I don't have. It probably could be, but I'm pretty sure I won't have the funds in this fiscal year to do it.
Okay.
One of the next item was brick reporting at the town hall. It was identified as in the time bond report as needing to be done within 5 years. It was an immediate concern. I'll use their estimate of 180,000 to do that. There is a lot of deterioration of the brick. Town hall egress improvements. This is a project that is currently under design, and we hope to have some prices January, February timeline. There's two projects within this category. One of them is the replacement of the wood fire escape on the outside of the building. That needs to be replaced. That's going to be replaced with a metal fire escape. And then the replacement of the rear egress ramp, which goes from the parking lot to the back door. If you notice, there's a longitudinal crack right down the middle of it, and it is starting to show a little bit of movement. It was also identified in the time bond report as going to need to be addressed. So we utilized some ARPA funds to begin the design work to get a better idea of the costs and the scope of what needs to be done. And we can we'll move forward from there. Town hall paint the trim, again, similar to, like I said, with Houghton Building. All the trim around all the windows at the town hall is all in failure. So it involves scraping them and repainting, priming and repainting everything. The town hall roof repairs, we came out. One of the folks that looked at the clay roof at the library he does only clay and slate roofs. He doesn't do, I gotta plug my laptop in here. He doesn't do a lot of membranes. He specializes really in just the clay and the slate. We had him take a look at the slate roof at the town hall, and he noticed that a lot of the slate tiles were missing and damaged. There's a concern of getting water intrusion into the building and even rotting of the sub deck, and you don't want to do that because that gets very expensive very quickly on an old building. He actually gave us a price to do that, and that's what's reflected in this capital request.
Okay.
And what's the next one? Equipment
Wastewater.
replacement. This I mentioned about wastewater treatment facility. I mentioned this earlier about the equipment that was identified in the 15-year engineering evaluation. It's indicated in our discharge permit that we have to replace it within that, but I said how we're working with the DP to see what we need to change, what equipment we need to change out, and if we can just have a plan to deal with the wastewater should there be a failure. And I think the plan is to you have septic hauling trucks coming in and pumping out the holding tanks versus running it through the treatment facility. So there's added operational costs that would be incurred at that should there be a kind of a failure of a piece of equipment. But we're working through that. That was all I had, and I think I told you I forgot to submit the cameras at the transfer station, which I submitted last year, but that didn't get funded. So that's it.
That's it. Wow, great. Well, thank you for the review. That is quite a list.
It is indeed. It's a daunting list, actually.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. So thanks for going through the details. We will be working with Marie over the next few months as we consider these transfer requests in addition to all the other the capital requests, in addition to the other capital requests that are being submitted. Okay,
All right,
Does
thank you.
anyone,
Thank you very much.
anyone have any
Randy.
other questions for Randy?
This is Stan, not necessarily a question for Randy per se, but perhaps also for Marie. A number of the requests involve some of our quote unquote historical buildings. We have the town hall, Houghton building, portions of the library of which are original. Has anyone consulted with the historical commission to see if there are any possible grants that could be looked at and possibly leveraged for some of this work?
I have not, but I'm aware there's a mass preservation projects grant. The similar to a thing that Randy had talked about, though they also require you to simultaneously set up a capital fund, and they top out at 50K. But I will go and nudge the historic and see if they have any other suggestions.
Yeah, I think that would be great. If any money we can get for some of these things, that would be wonderful.
Now, bear in mind, coming down the pike, within a few years, you're going to see a request to rebuild all of the original windows in the old section. And I think that was charged to the library director, was going to search out funding, areas of funding, and moving forward with that project. I told the trustees at that time I didn't have number one, the expertise, and number two, the time with the amount of projects that are on our building replacement, our building capital list. I just did not have enough time to work solely on, windows for an antique building. It's a historic building. I didn't want to kind of go there.
I think certainly for the funding of it, I think the library trustees should be looking at fundraising.
All right, anyone else with comments or questions? Okay, Randy, thanks very much for sticking with us for this whole thing and running through the budget and the capital requests.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night now.
All right, we're up to our next agenda item, conversation with volunteer Brian Mooney. Brian, thanks again for joining us. I hope we didn't scare you away. So Brian has expressed some interest in joining the advisory committee. So Brian, you've actually got to see like 2 of the 3 main functions of advisory so far. And, one of the main things that we do every year is review the town budget in preparation leading up to annual town meeting. And we scrutinize every line in the budget. And that's a process that takes several months. The second main role that we have is to review capital requests. And we work with the town administrator in making recommendations for capital requests, which should go forward and which ones shouldn't. And the third role that we have, which we'll actually hit later in this meeting, are transfer requests. The advisory committee there's a reserve fund of this year it's 125,000 that if there are unforeseen items that come up, we can transfer some funds from this reserve fund into other departments. So we review and approve those as they come up. So those are the main functions of the advisory committee. We're just starting our busy season now. We'll meet just about every week between now and mid-April or so in the lead up to annual town meeting. And then we meet periodically between town meeting and the end of the calendar year just to approve transfer requests and other things that might come up. So that's basically what goes on. So I think we would all be interested in hearing a little bit about you and your background and your time in Bolton and your interest in advisory.
Well, I'm relatively new to Bolton. My wife's family, her father's originally from Bolton. We're purchasing her grandmother's house over on McNulty. She's from Clinton. So once we got married, we moved up to Clinton. Now we're moving to Bolton. So so my experience, I've only been in Bolton for about 7 to 8 months. So I've been in Massachusetts now for about 3 years. I'm a Rhode Islander originally.
Yeah.
So don't hold it against me too bad.
Well, welcome to Bolton.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
So,
great. And you're interested in getting involved in town government?
Yeah, I was thinking about, I was talking to my wife and I were out with friends, Heather Goodsell, and we were and her fiance Mark, and we were talking about it, and I was interested in seeing what was going on and what was something active I could do for Bolton to kind of understand what's going on in the community and what's going on in that town and where everything goes to what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's and she had mentioned that the advisory board was short one member. So I was like, I'll see how it is and see if it's something that I might be interested in doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you certainly get some great insight into how the town works by being on advisory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any questions for us?
Not right now. I'm just kind of, like I said, it was the first kind of meeting, so I was just kind of sitting back and going through the budget and stuff. I actually went online earlier today on the website and the town's website and started looking at the budget because I figured that'd be kind of what we looked at.
Yeah.
So I kind of got a general idea what was going on.
Yeah, great. Does anyone on advisory have any questions for Brian?
I got a quick question, Brian. I just wondered what kind of work you do. What do you?
I work for a safety management company. I'm a safety manager for my specialization is construction. Right now, I kind of go to different jobs. I was at Fort Devens last year over at BMS. Now I'm working on a job over in Raynham for Johnson & Johnson. So I kind of bounce around between all the jobs. I was a safety manager for a mechanical contractor out of Attleboro for about 15 years. And I'd worked there for almost 24 years prior to me leaving in 23.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, again, thanks for volunteering. I hope this didn't scare you off too much. We're certainly looking for some help. So the process from here is, I think you may have a discussion with the appointing committee. So the advisory committee doesn't actually decide who joins. There will be discussion with the appointing committee, which actually consists of our town clerk, our town moderator, and the chairman of our select board. And then they will formally appoint you, and then you would be sworn in, and then you would be a full-fledged member of the advisory committee at that point.
Okay.
All right. Well, you are welcome to stick around for the rest of the meeting if you want to. We have a little advisory committee business to go through, or if you've had enough for now and want to drop, that's fair enough too.
All right. My wife is actually here. She was supposed to be skating today, but she's a skating instructor, but over in Acton, but it got shut down tonight. So we're gonna eat dinner.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, it's great to meet you. Oh,
Can I interrupt for a moment?
Yep, Jenny, go ahead.
I think it might be helpful if the advisory committee made a formal recommendation to the appointing committee.
Yep, we will. We will. And yeah, I think we'll hit that during advisory committee business. So Brian, if you'd like to go eat dinner, feel free.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Okay. All right. Great. So now we're up to advisory committee business. I thought maybe we should get the transfer request out of the way. I think Chris is here. Yes, okay.
Yep. I'm
All
here.
right. Hi, Chris, how are you?
Good evening. Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. I have the transfer request somewhere. Okay. Right, so I think this is the latest. There was a little, we ran
Yep,
through a
couple
number
of-
of iterations. I think this is the latest.
It looks like it, yeah. So we did have a couple of bills come in after the initial request was presented to you guys. And so I guess just to give you the background here, so this is a request. So long and the short of it is that we've got our transfer station and we're required by DEP to monitor it. They have recently come out and seen us and added testing parameters. So again, PFAS is a big talking point these days. And so now they're requiring that we test the transfer station for PFAS as well. Long and the short of it is some more testing, more expensive testing, and they also are requiring us to do it twice a year. So hence the request, because it's much more than we had anticipated. Our budget moving forward will reflect the change, but this is going to happen midstream. So
Yeah. And Chris, where does the direction come from to like increase the testing to twice a year?
So that piece, to be perfectly honest, when the transfer station was originally closed, it was managed by Harold Brown, who had a big part of successfully getting it closed, and he carried it on. When Harold retired, it kind of fell to our board. At the time, we were under the impression it was just annual testing, just once a year, which we did every year. When PFAS, kind of hit the radar of DEP and they started going around to other transfer stations in the state, they realized that we'd only been doing it once a year as opposed to twice a year. So one piece is kind of a correction, and then the second piece is the additional testing that they're requiring because of what's happening in the world.
Yeah. So let me scroll down a little further in the transfer request. That there are some details in here, and I think I'm tracking now. So let me just jump to the bottom real quick. So here's a bill from Northeast Geoscience.
Yep.
For $5,350, and if I'm interpreting this right, this is the bill to go in and like pull the samples from 10 different wells and basically package the samples up and ship them off to be tested.
Correct. Yeah. So we have an engineer named Joel Frisch from Northeast Geoscience, who is our kind of person who does exactly this, who manages the wells, the monitoring, and then also gets the samples to the lab. We do have a little flexibility. We shop the labs around to get the better price, and so Rhode Island Analytic came in the lowest, so we went with them. So yes, so Northeast Geoscience are the people kind of on the ground doing the work, and then Rhode Island Analytical or whomever it may be are going to be the laboratory that does the testing of the samples.
Right. So these other two invoices, then it looks like you said, this is Rhode Island Analytical, and this looks like an invoice for 5 of those 10 wells.
Yep.
Yeah, the second one for the other
700.
5. But I
And
think
then here's the other invoice for the other 5.
Sure. So what may have happened here, and again, I haven't looked at this closely, and I apologize. Some of the samples are actually private wells. We have access to the transfer station anytime. The private wells can take a little bit of time to get people's notifications in, get their permission, get the samples drawn. So I believe what happened here is that Joel and I talked about going in, doing what we could right away, because again, DEP is kind of anxious to get this testing back, and then follow up with the private wells, on Forbush Mill Road and on Still River Road.
Yeah. Well, it all seems exorbitant to me, but maybe we don't have a choice.
It is, I would agree and also, disagree. It seems like a lot, but it is the town's transfer station. We did put all that stuff in the hole, so I think we're duty bound to kind of manage it, monitor it. But we are meeting with Joel at our next meeting. One of the questions to him is going to be, is there ever a day where we can stop or back down this testing? So when they first dropped this kind of bomb on us about twice a year and more testing, the conversation I had with Joel is that let's do this. Let's make an attempt to get into their good graces and then see if we can start peeling some of this stuff back. So that conversation started. It'll continue with Joel next week, and we'll see where we get with DEP.
Okay, and based on the expenditure reports, this has already been invoiced and paid, and we're just backfilling the budget.
Correct.
All right, do others have questions for Chris?
Yeah, I got a couple. Is this going to cover us for the whole year now? You mentioned twice a year, Chris, or is this half of it, or are we
No,
now?
I'm sorry. So this will cover us for, excuse me one second, I need some on the stove. This will cover us for, and again, so our testing doesn't necessarily follow fiscal year. We typically do it in the fall, and so we'll logically do it in the spring. So next testing will be the next fiscal year, and then by the time we do the second one, it'll be in the following fiscal year. So I guess it gets a little confusing. Yeah.
Okay, so this you're considering this the spring, or
this was for this past fall's testing that we would
Okay.
typically owe them, that we would typically do, and would typically cost around $6,800 had we stayed on our old testing cycle and the testing parameters. This kind of got dropped in, and the testing got larger, more expansive, and here we are.
no, my concern is solely that in April, May, we're going to need to do this again, and I just wanted to see if that's the case.
Hopefully not, no, because again, when I meet with you guys again, you're going to see a whole new budget line item that's going to bear out the annual cost of this, or the annual, what we're estimating it will cost to do this twice a year.
Right, but that budget won't come into effect until July 1st. So is this going to cover us through then?
Let's see. So if we just did our fall, well, again, let me talk to Joe on Tuesday, because again,
Okay.
I don't know how much we can push DEP out. Maybe we can push them out to past June 1 versus, or July 1, and we'll see where we can get with them.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting we push it out. We do what's right. It's our stuff in the hole, as you
Right.
mentioned. I just want to be sure if that we don't get surprised in the spring too, or before the fiscal year ends. That's fine.
Sure. No, and I
Um,
really don't want to do that. Like I said, I don't like coming to you guys asking for money after the fact.
Yeah.
But again, we're still kind of dialing this in, unfortunately.
Okay.
And it is frustrating because it's really something that we don't control completely. It's kind of at
Yep.
DEP's mercy.
Right. I'd like to ask you another question, and this is completely out of ignorance. I have done some of this testing on my own well when I had some challenges on that. And it certainly didn't require much expertise, just a person and some time. Do we really need an engineer or whoever that geoscience person that was like $200 an hour to do this kind of thing? Or could we get someone with good directions and less money?
So two pieces of that. One, I'm not sure if we can. I think we may
Okay.
be required to have a licensed person draw the samples.
Sure.
And two, I agree. It's not like going to your tap and filling a sample bottle. These samples actually get extracted from the wells, there's also a gas piece. You know, there are different layers to the testing, and
Okay,
so yeah, unfortunately, no, I don't think we can just
okay. I just
hire somebody.
wanted to make sure we weren't missing an opportunity.
Sure.
Other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the well monitoring transfer for $8,708?
I move we approve the transfer for $8,708.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
All right.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, great. Thank you, Chris, for the
Awesome.
detailed explanation.
Well, I did my best. Thank you very much for seeing you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. You
We'll
too.
see you. We'll see you during budget talks.
Great. Okay, let's circle back real quick. Advisory thoughts on Brian Mooney.
Sounds good to me.
Sure.
Yeah, no issues.
Okay. Right. Bill, good with you?
Yeah, good.
Okay, all right. Jenny, is this something we need to vote on, or can we just do a verbal, looks good to us?
I think a formal vote is good.
Okay. Is there a motion to recommend approval of Brian Moody to the advisory committee?
I move we approve Brian Mooney to the advisory committee.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
All right.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay. Good to go from the advisory committee perspective. So Jen, I think it's over to you to do the rest with the appointing committee.
I think Jen has already dropped off, but I
Oh,
will
dear.
send her
Okay.
an email.
Great. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Okay, two more quick items. I had sent out a document a couple of days ago. When we last met in December, the discussion came up about the police vehicles being in the operating budget versus a capital request. And there was Greg had what I thought was a good suggestion about, is there a way to set up a fund to help us be a little more proactive about vehicle purchases than just year to year? And the answer is yes, there is a way to do that, a capital stabilization fund. The document I sent out kind of describes how that works. So I think it's something, we can certainly discuss. If it's something that we want to propose and move forward with it, the timing is a little tricky because you notice that the stabilization fund has to be approved by a 2/3 vote at town meeting. So if we were to head down this path, at town meeting, it would look like we're approving a fund and appropriating a bunch of money into it. And then right after that, we'd have to have a vote to withdraw the money from the fund, essentially leaving the fund empty after town meeting. The benefit of that, though, is that then in future years, those funds could be appropriated to the stabilization fund and they're excluded from Prop 2.5. So, once you get over the initial hurdle and get it implemented, I think it becomes useful, but it could look a little tricky in the implementations. Anyway.
I think you can just implement the fund and not fund it. And that way it's available, you can also think about directing monies into it from certain areas.
And could you clarify too, Bob, about, I think you said something about it's outside of Prop 2.5?
I believe it's just like a capital request would be excluded. If we take on the debt, would be excluded from Prop 2.5. This would also. And if someone correct me if I have that wrong, but that was my understanding.
Okay.
That's how I read it. I also read, though, there's two sources of funding into this fund. One was just normal back and forth between line items of our own budgeting. We just choose to route money into it within the overall town budget. But the other one was this town meeting where we had to go get authorization to do it with 2/3 of the vote. But it seemed pretty broad. I mean, we could look at it from a long-term perspective. We can think about 5 years, and especially after today with all the capital requests from Randy, it really started me thinking we need something like this. Perhaps multiple funds, one for vehicles, one for buildings, one for hardscape around the city like culverts. In each one of these, if we take the time and do it right through town meeting, suddenly we're proactively planning these capitals, and the money is just there when it's needed. So I actually, thank you for sending that around. I became very interested and excited that this could be a way forward.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great idea.
Would the 2/3 vote at town meeting, would that be just a vote on the dollar figure to put into the fund, or would it be specifically for projects that the funds are going to be spent on?
You need a 2/3 vote for each to establish the fund and to spend out of it.
Okay.
And my understanding is when we establish the fund, we have to be somewhat specific as to what we could use the funds for.
So it would be something like, let's establish a stabilization funds for Bob's retirement. And then when we distribute the money, we'd have to go back and get a 2/3 vote to say, yeah, we can distribute this to Bob's retirement.
Yes, yes. So for example,
That second part sounds a little hairy.
So
I just clarifying though, I think after the year that the town approves the creation of the fund, we do not need to go back every year and get approval for that same levy.
You don't have to approve the creation of it, but you do have to have, in order to spend out of it, it has to be approved at town meeting.
So it's similar to a capital expense in that sense. The town has to approve to spend money, but if they don't approve it, the money is still in the fund.
Yeah.
So we've still
Money's
saved
there,
up the money.
and it's earning interest, and
yeah.
Well, don't forget, gentlemen, that you have to vote to put money into it. So, we need to be very careful here as to not make it more onerous for us to, one, get the money and then also take it out. I mean, I've been a very strong advocate that we need to increase free cash every year that when we finish the budget season, so that we have money to spend on exactly the things that Randy's asking for, unexpected expenses. So we need to find some mechanism to start saving money. I would agree with that, because we are obviously in a bind this year, and we've managed to skirt the issue, but it has come home. I mean, I can certainly share with you a document that the Board of Selectmen sent to the district and the school committee back in 2015. Expressing concerns about the increases in the school budget, which is, partly why we're here. So this is a long-standing problem, and we need to figure it out. But I certainly don't want to do anything to hamstring the ability of the police department to get a new cruiser, because we've had a lot of discussion in the past about the cruiser in and out of the operating budget and this and that, and we need to make sure that they get their vehicle every year, because they absolutely need it. I mean, I think we've gone past that discussion, but I don't want to make it more difficult for us to put money in and make it even more difficult for us to get the money out. So it sounds like an interesting idea, but let's make sure we don't screw ourselves at the end by being too clever about this.
Marie, go ahead.
One interesting thing also is as you go through the budget, two entities, Minuteman VOTEC as well as Neshoba Regional Dispatch, within their assessment, they're asking for monies for their own capital fund, in effect, something like this. So they are slowly building, we are paying to build some other entities, which
Yep.
serves us, their capital fund. So it's a good idea. I think it's great that
Yep.
it would come back, now we can create our own.
Right. So one of my concerns this year is if we are potentially, and it looks like we're heading this way, asking the town for a Prop 2.5 override. And we also have what's essentially a capital expense stuck within the operating budget. I'm not sure that's the best way to proceed. And by pulling it out into a capital fund, the town at least has the opportunity to clearly see and vote yes or no on a vehicle.
Mhm.
So, I mean, so let me ask Marie and Brian and Stan from the select board, if we were to head down this path and we meet with the police department in 2 weeks and suggest that we pull the police cruiser out of the operating budget and put it into a capital fund and make that a warrant article, is that something that you would be supportive? Oh, and Kate is here too. Oh, great. Hello, I didn't know you were there. Anyway, is that something that you would be supportive of? Or
Sorry, I don't want to be a stick in the mud, but I know that the select board actually isn't officially cross-posted for this particular meeting. I don't believe, at least I didn't see it on the calendar. So although I think we've all been listening in, I don't think we should deliberate during tonight's meeting.
okay,
I just looked and there isn't anything.
okay, fair
Well,
enough.
for note, we should be posted for all these meetings.
Yeah, yes, I've made a note of that, Stan, going forward, but for tonight, we don't have that ability.
Okay. All
We
right,
can
well,
we can give you our answer. We can give you our answer next time, or we can put it as an agenda item for our next meeting to give you an answer there.
Hey,
Perfect.
Bob, maybe this is a question for Marie, though. I mean, we don't want to do this. I think, Stan, you said we want to be careful on how we do this. And it almost would require sitting down and thinking and planning 5 years ahead and thinking through all the various types of capital requests that are coming in. Do we need just one special purpose fund? Do we need a couple? And kind of segregate vehicles from town buildings from something else. It almost feels like we need to sit down, or maybe Marie, you and your, the town can sit down and think about how would we structure this.
Right. I would be psyched. I mean, I think the critical thing, and I believe advisory even has policies on this, is determination of how we would set aside money for capital. We're not a specific request, but just capital in general. As Stan had mentioned, we obviously don't have a lot of free cash this year, but that may change. And it's best to have a policy in place and a destination for those monies when they do arrive. So it doesn't become, oh, well, now that you have more money, other entities need to use these things for things outside of long-term capital for the town.
Yeah. Agreed.
okay. I think it would be helpful from the advisory perspective if, maybe next week, if we post the agendas properly, we could get some a little guidance or thoughts on where to head, because we will be voting on the police budget in 2 weeks.
If I can say one other thing, at our last select board meeting, I made the statement that we obviously are in a tough financial situation this year. I find it difficult to be discussing, a cruiser in or out. I think at this juncture, we need to approach the district and our school committee reps that we all need to share in the pain. And the town of Bolton should not be the only entity that is suffering here. And I won't accept, I'm speaking personally, I won't accept the notion of an override unless there's some shared pain by the district in really looking at their budget. And I've shared with my board members some items that the district and the school committee might want to look at, and we might want to discuss that. Maybe I'll share that with you, Bob, a spreadsheet that I put together. But there needs to be shared pain this year.
Yep, agreed. Okay. Great. Any other comments on that topic? If not, one more agenda item. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve real quick that Bill was able to get out. Okay, in no particular order other than what is on my screen here. Okay, these are minutes from June 11th last year. Any comments? If not, actually maybe we'll just flip through all 3 of them. If there are no comments, we'll vote on them as a block. Is everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. This is our last meeting that we just had in December, where we met in person. Any corrections here? Okay, finally. These are the minutes from July 2nd, 2020. Pretty short. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 11th, July 2nd, and December 3rd, 2024?
I move we approve those minutes.
And I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. And thanks, Bill, for getting all those wrapped up.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, does anyone have anything else? If not, our next meeting is next Tuesday, and we'll continue with the budget review. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, excellent. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Great
you.
week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
All right.